Starfish Recording presents.
You're listening to an audio sample of Alice's Adventures in the Real World, How to Get a Job and Keep It. Copyright 2016 by Robin M. Mayer. And now the author, Robin M. Mayer.
Introduction. Alice laughed. "There's no use trying," she said. "One can't believe impossible things." "I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." Whether you're starting out or starting over, getting a job may seem impossible. Keeping it may be about as difficult. Sure, you've overcome many hurdles. You've survived crappy jobs on your way up. You've graduated. You've passed many grueling exams. The ones from the professor who actually expects you to think, the graduate school screening drills where you're competing on a national level, or professional licensing exams like the torturous California bar. But your life is not a Hollywood movie. You're not a doctor, you didn't go to Harvard, and the phone is emphatically not ringing off the hook with tempting offers. Your email box is stuffed with spam. Your mother is getting worried. It's time to test your skills in the place called the real world. Why in the real world should you read this book? Or take advice from me, a non-celebrity and non-expert in the field of human resources? Because I've been and continue to be where you are, a working stiff, a wage slave, someone who lives from paycheck to paycheck, someone who just wants to get through the day without biting anyone's head off or considering a leap off of several available bridges. Someone whose ultimate goal is simply to take care of herself and her family. For more than 30 years, through 2 careers, more than 20 real jobs, and countless I'm here for the beer jobs, I've survived. Sometimes I've failed like a bad belly flop. I've come close to being fired. I lost promotions and prizes I should have won. I've been discriminated against and dissed. Sometimes I've succeeded. I've won 4 local Emmys and passed the California bar in the first try, at the age of 50 yet. And no matter what the economy, I've always found a job or at least work. The ultimate proof I'm worth your time? I've never been laid off. Bottom line, I think I can help with a little advice. I promise to make it as entertaining as I can. The dream. 'Tis a privilege high to have dinner and tea, along with the Red Queen, the White Queen, and me. Sure, at some point you have to grow up. At some point your body doesn't cooperate when you want to stay up all night partying or working. Your time and your money aren't unlimited. Your energy runs out. Your bank account runs low. You need to eat. You need a job. But there's no need to limit your dreams, ever. They exist in the wide open realm of your imagination. Make them big and colorful and fruitful and glowing and passionate. You need them to find a job you like and to fuel your life after work. You need them to find the next job and the next. You especially need them to get through a tough day in the real world, the strange place you go to at least 5 days a week, where, like Wonderland, odd creatures order you about and what's presented as logic rarely makes sense. Decide what you want. Who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. "You," said the caterpillar contemptuously. "Who are you?" As Alice exclaimed, deciding who you are and what you want is a great puzzle, one that may take the majority of your life to solve. The lucky ones, the determined ones, solve it sooner than later. It's understandable to be confused by the dizzying array of options you probably have, especially when you're young. Worse than confusion, you'll be in pain. Your soul will be troubled. Perhaps you have no idea what to do because you've been dutifully following directions from everybody else. Parents, teachers, friends, spouses, churches, media. And as a result, you've forgotten how to dream and forge goals. Maybe you do know what you'd like to do, but you're afraid to act on your wishes. Or maybe you haven't given yourself the opportunity to figure out what you want. Perhaps you've had some kind of setback that appears to narrow your options. Notice I said appears. Most of the time, we set the limits on our own lives. Like the caterpillar, a potential employer will want to know who you are. It is very difficult to get a job other than dishwasher when you haven't made up your mind. From the hundreds of interviews I've conducted, I can assure you it's obvious when the applicant is floundering, mentally flopping fins and gasping for air. The answers are vague, they haven't done their homework, they don't want to look you in the eye, they are uncomfortable, they are unhappy. Not what anyone wants to see in an employee or coworker. What a waste of everyone's time. Lack of decision rains down with cruel vengeance during a downturn in the economy. It wasn't that long ago when the Great Recession was tearing up the country like a tornado. That's when I graduated from law school and frankly in no position to turn down any job. As it happened, during a hopeless interview with a top-notch law firm, I seized the opportunity to get career advice and asked the lawyer whether I should specialize right away. He firmly replied, "Do you want your brain operated on by a surgeon who's performed thousands of the same procedures? Or do you want to go under the knife wielded by a general practitioner who has completed a few dozen?" I took his wisdom to heart and immediately focused my job search on environmental law opportunities. It took a while for me to get my dream job, but I did. Looking back now, being a lawyer in almost any other field would have bored me to death. When I interviewed candidates during the latter part of the Great Recession, our agency was deluged with an embarrassment of riches. Top-ranked students from top-tier schools were fighting for internships. We even employed volunteers while they waited for their bar results, basically getting a trained attorney for free. The ones who got these humble positions wanted to work for us and wanted the particular job. They liked the mission, they'd done their homework, and they knew what their long-term goals were. Why would we bother with anyone less enthusiastic or less focused? In short, the job market has no patience for the confused and meandering. As an unknown wit observed, fuzzy goals get fuzzy results. It's crucial that you make a decision, and to some extent it hardly matters what decision you make. If you haven't spent time deciding what color your parachute is, you're wasting other people's time and your own. Life is short. Decide. And guess what? Lucky us, we live in the capitalist system. Your decision, while crucial, does not lock you in for life. You can change your mind and you can change careers, even later in life. Better to make a decision and take action than to remain indecisive and flounder. There are tremendous resources available like the What Color is Your Parachute book series, which author Richard Bowles recently updated, recruitment sites like Monster.com and their associated blogs, and of course, the vast trove of information available on Google and other search engines. You can Google the questions Google asks for its interviews. I've assembled some of my favorite resources in the suggested resources section at the end of this book, along with my own website, realworldresume.com. Don't forget to ask for advice from flesh and blood people, your father and mother, uncle and aunt, your first boss, your best friend, the one you admire. These resources help you figure out what your values are, what you like, what you're good at, and where you might fit. You already have a decent idea of your strengths from school or extracurricular activities, but you may not remember them all off the top of your head. Take a few hours. Use the expert guidance to get your ideas down in writing, which helps you think, prioritize, and plan. Thorough self-exploration should run several pages. I promise you it will be fascinating. If you're further along in life, you may realize you need to go back to school to do what you want. With that decision made, you are more able to figure out how you can earn the certification or degree as you keep working. Your desire has to be more than you need a job because you need money. Most jobs offer money, unfortunately not all, and everyone needs a job, even apparently Donald Trump. Focus on what interests you about the field, and after researching, what excites you about the particular company and the job opening. Ideally, you are burning with desire for the specific job. After you've mined your resources, visualize your ideal situation. Saturate your mind with details. What city, what the office looks like, what the atmosphere is like, what you'll do, what you'll wear, how you plan to get ahead. Even the commute. Imagine a pleasant one that doesn't add stress to your day. Visualization is key. Many studies have documented the success of athletes who visualize. The mental practice is as important to their game, maybe more important than their physical practice. Deciding, especially with strong visualization, seems to create a ripple effect. Something mystical happens, and the payoffs are immediate. You'll see opportunities that were previously invisible. Your mind sees a match between the environment and what you've been thinking about. You'll feel better. You'll be able to talk about what you want in a way that is more engaging and more likely to trigger the chain reaction of someone who knows someone who knows someone who has a job to offer. Maybe the decision effect is evolutionary. The caveman was more likely to survive if he decided what animal he wanted for dinner and visualized the hunt. That enabled him to select the right spear and leave the cave early enough to make the long trek to the prey before dark. If someone could bottle the decision effect, she would make a fortune. Meanwhile, all you need to understand is that chance favors the decided heart. The payoffs last a long time. Is there anyone sadder and sillier than someone who makes a lot of money and is thoroughly miserable? Although I'm an incurable optimist and living proof you can change careers in midlife, that person may well be trapped. Too high up, kids in school, a big mortgage, and because misery inevitably spreads from work to home and vice versa, the marriage may be hanging by a thread as well. No one can function in a soul-sucking environment day after day and not expect to pay in terms of happiness, health, and relationships. Don't wait. Decide while you're young. Commitment, which at first seems to close doors, actually opens them. Work your network. Contrariwise, said the one marked D, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak. Networking is the alpha, omega, and everything in between of your career. Start immediately. If you have to, you can write your resume in an hour and get ready for an interview the night before. Not that I recommend rushing. By contrast, it takes years to build a vibrant, abundant network. Start by following Tweedledee's advice. If a person is alive, you speak. Gradually, you'll meet and get to know people in your field. Eventually, and faster than you thought possible, you'll be meeting people who want to network with you. In the long run, networking amounts to an elaborate game of karma. There's a Mark Twain story about this phenomenon. A peasant wants to meet the king, and though the peasant is lowly, he networks his way into the castle. He asks a friend who knows someone who knows the guard, who knows the jester, who knows the king. In the end, the humble one realizes his dream and bows before the king. The Will Smith movie 6 Degrees of Separation, based on a true-life con artist among New York's elite, explores this process as well. The upshot is, you probably know more people than you think you do. So work it. Go back to your circle, your sphere of influence. If you're coming out of school, you have access to professors, alumni, classmates, and friends with whom you've worked on projects, sharing good times and bad. If you're changing careers, explore if your current colleagues know people in your new field. Someone probably does, and that person is important to you now because she can vouch for your work ethic, a valuable quality across all fields. For example, let's say you're completely green, just graduated, and you've yet to hold a job of any kind in your field. By the way, you should have grabbed every internship possible while you were in school to prevent this worst-case scenario. You feel weird about telling Uncle Jack, a composer and guitar player who hasn't worked outside his home studio for years, that you want a position as an environmental engineer. Well, you should. Turns out Uncle Jack knows a few environmental engineers from his time at UC Berkeley, and one is a good friend. The older someone is, the more likely 6 Degrees of Separation has done its magic, even for those of us who lack the benefits of LinkedIn and Facebook early on. In short, this is no time to be shy. Starting with your family, tell everyone, every cousin, every friend, every colleague past and present, the pizza delivery guy, exactly what job you want. Keep at it until you foster connections in your field. Eventually, you'll reach someone who knows of an excellent employer. You may discover the holy grail of an insider willing to tell you about the company. Admittedly, it's possible to be too forward. When you're starting out, there's little choice but to attend events and suffer those awkward silences when you meet people. It's like dating. The eventual cure for dating is to keep dating until you meet the right person. It's the same for networking. You have to mingle. But don't hit up someone for a job in the first minute that you meet them, or 2 minutes, or 10 minutes. Would you ask a date for sex right away, assuming you're sober? If you're young and recently out of school, your new acquaintance knows exactly what you're after, a job. You don't have to say a thing. Again, using the dating analogy, Get to know them. See if you're compatible. Pick their brain. Listen to their opinions on the industry, the business climate, the hot executives, whatever the news is. You may fall in love. Wow, that woman is cool. I want to work for her. You may decide that person is a jerk and you wouldn't work for them outside of hell. One off the list. Such encounters are short versions of informational interviews. They work because people like to talk about themselves. When I was in broadcasting, I occasionally ventured into the field for on-the-street interviews, getting reactions to the breaking news of the day. Inevitably, someone would put up a fight, claiming to be camera shy or scared, or that they hated my station, or whatever their beef was. It was a fascinating process because they always came around. Once the tape rolled, they would talk longer than anyone else. People are vain, otherwise Facebook would die. For our purposes here, people like to talk about their work, how they climbed the ladder, how things could be improved. So take advantage of that and work your way around the room. You'll at least gain new acquaintances. Set the goal of making 2 contacts for every event. Get their business cards and write a short, nice to meet you email without any job hints or resume unless they've asked for it. Realize you're offering something as well, a chance for the old-timers to shape the future. Veterans of the field enjoy imparting their wisdom on a clean slate. LinkedIn is a wonderful tool, but it too can be abused. One of my bosses complained that he had no sooner opened an applicant's envelope when that person would send a LinkedIn request. That is rude. You have yet to meet the manager. You don't know if he or she thinks you're qualified at all. This is why LinkedIn asks if you know a contact before sending out a request. The community wants to keep employers from being hit on. Speaking of social media, your pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. might need a makeover. Assume the employer will read your profile, your posts, and your friends' posts on your wall. Even comments and likes can show up to the diligent. A false name or nickname may not shield your identity. In California, a potential employer cannot demand the password to your account. But that is small comfort unless your privacy settings are strict, taking much of the fun out of Facebook. Between website caches and friends who don't care about privacy, not to mention those who enjoy embarrassing others, there's plenty of public information for potential employers to evaluate you without any permission required. In the newsroom, when someone vanishes or is killed in a car accident or has suffered some newsworthy tragedy, the first thing the assignment editor does is view that person's Facebook page. Even with common names, it's not hard to figure out if it's the correct John Smith. And that's while working under the gun. A company exploring a candidate's worthiness is not under that kind of pressure. The company will dig. If your alleged BFF has posted pictures of you in the throes of your 5th margarita, act immediately to get those pictures off and take out the tags. Let's say you haven't bothered and you've applied to a law firm for a summer associate position. The manager looks at your page and the pages of your competitors and sees that you're a party animal par excellence. Why should the firm take a risk when there are so many other well-qualified candidates? On top of that, entertaining is part of the job. At some point, you may be buying drinks for a client, the client who generates thousands of billable hours a year. The hiring manager must confirm that either you can handle your booze or that you will say no if you can't handle your booze. The manager is not working in a vacuum. He won't be able to justify your hire to his managers without stuff hanging over your public persona. You don't have to be a prude or a Girl Scout, but you want to avoid looking like a drunk or other addict. Your stuff is out there. Make sure it's cleaned up. Once you have your first job or your second job, which is almost as hard to get as your first job, networking starts to take care of itself. Your circle widens and continues to widen. Connections build on themselves, as you're familiar with from social networking, but in a much more personal fashion. To speed up the process, work for as large an organization as you can. You'll meet hundreds of people in the old-fashioned sense of meeting them face-to-face. They will know you or of you, and generally of your reputation in the workplace. How effective is this for making new connections? It is like magic. When I was working in Washington, D.C., my goal was to move to San Francisco and work as a video editor at a TV news station. Out of the hundreds of people with whom I was working at the time, One of them knew one of the supervisors of the editing crew at one of the 4 prominent news stations in San Francisco. In spite of the extremely competitive marketplace, that wonderful man hired me as a freelance editor on the strength of the good word of his acquaintance, my colleague. That connection gave me the edge, and I developed the strength and confidence to move nearly 3,000 miles. I would not have kept working without being a good editor, but as one door opened, so did others.
Thank you for listening. Alice's Adventures in the Real World is available on Amazon, iBooks, and in all other electronic book formats. A softcover edition is available on Amazon and by print on demand in any bookshop. For more information, go to Alice's page at realworldresume.com.
This has been a Starfish Recording production. Thanks for listening.